Reputation. It's important to most people. It creates a public image and allows a person to fit into a certain group of society. But why do we create a reputation the way we do? Is it all just natural, or does popular culture and society play a role in what we think a positive reputation really is? Reputation is a complex thing, and as individual as a person, but youth interpretation of a reputation is greatly affected by the public eye, peers, age group, popular culture, and the context of YouTube, social networking, and television. According to Webster's English Dictionary, reputation is our need to create what one deems as a positive view of themselves for the public. It's our character in the public estimation. But why do we feel the need to create a public persona in the first place? Well, this originally had to do with trade. According to Jeremy Shearmer and Daniel B. Klein, if a market-based society is to function, it is argued its members must behave decently towards one another. They must be able to rely upon one another to respect property rights and to keep their promises, even in dealings with people with whom they do not have face-to-face or frequent interactions with. Therefore, without a good reputation, a company or person would lose business. And since reputation is created by someone else's perception of you, a businessman would have to treat all other market members with the utmost importance in hopes they would tell their cohorts to do business with the member or company in question. Von Brunn reiterates this idea by saying, a good reputation enhances profitability because it attracts customers to the company's products, investors to its securities, and employees to its jobs. In turn, esteem inflates the price at which public companies' securities trade. An example of this would be Andy Warhol's estate in 1987 being worth $700 million, and then in 1993 only being worth $220 million. The price difference decreased because his paintings were not as in demand as it was once thought they would be. Also, he didn't have a strong positive reputation due to his quiet demeanor and constant need for staging himself in a bid for the world's attention so he could gain more than 15 minutes of fame. The idea of scandal is all about the destruction of a positive reputation, in the cause of moral stumbling or a figurative way to signify a trap. Now this has to do with reputation because many political leaders are caught in scandals like Bill Clinton and Anthony Weiner. Scandals which one would think might ruin a political career, which is supposedly based on trust. But, in fact, in certain senses, it may even strengthen the relationship between the public and the politician because it makes the politician seem more human. According to John B. Thompson, there are 4 theories and consequences about scandal. One being that it is majorly fabricated by the media, which holds little or no effect on material factors and processes which shape social and political life. This is the no consequence theory. Theory 2 says that there are consequences to scandal, but the consequences are essentially conservative in the sense that they reaffirm status quo. Theory 3 states that scandal emphasizes a potentially deleterious impact on the sphere of public discourse and debate. This theory can be called the trivialization theory. And finally, the 4th theory argues that scandal, so far from debasing the quality of public debate, enriches it by calling into question the dominant norms of journalism. This can be referred to as the subversion theory of scandal. With the idea of scandal and negative reputations and public images being portrayed by our country leaders, it is no wonder why the youth or millennial generation have grown up to think doing negative things, or perhaps morally weak things, creates a positive image, since politicians are in a place of power, regardless of their past actions. Thompson also states that profound political scandals are symptomatic of a profound transformation of the relations between public and private, which has accompanied and helped to shape the development of modern societies and subconsciously the views of 20-somethings. It has been said time and time again and overgeneralized by people and critics like Jeff Gordinier that millennials, or people born between 1981 and after, are spotlight-craving, egotistical airheads that care about nothing more than 15 minutes of fame. and that Generation Xers are far more advanced and useful to society. This may be thought of as true because millennials are more connected through the internet and social media or YouTube and constantly talking or complaining about their lives. We live in a confessional society. Saying what you're thinking and writing or talking about your feelings on the internet, in blogs, or on YouTube does not make millennials any less clever, intelligent, or useful to society than Gen Xers just because they wrote on paper. It is actually noted by Courtney Crepel that millennials tend to be better at community outreach and assistance than Generation X population, who tend to be more independent and want to work alone. This has to do with reputation because millennials were born into an age group where they already had a negative reputation just because they were more tech savvy and relied more on the internet, whereas Generation X had a more positive reputation simply because they did things in a more traditional way. This is unfair because reputation is built on a personal level rather than on a generational level. Adolescents deal with the need to be understood and the feeling that no one does. There was research by Laura Lopez Romero and Estrella Romero. Reputation has a lot to do with a teenager's feeling of being socially accepted and understood or not. It was found that the idea of not conforming led to adolescents' antisocial behavior, especially for girls. They also found the creation and maintenance of a reputation also led to more social behavior. Therefore, if one's peers are photographed on different social media and seen on YouTube drinking and doing other recreational activities, it creates a negative reputation for those who are not doing it. Negatively solely because they're not conforming to the larger population. Marshall McLuhan is famous for saying the medium is the message. In 1976, he held a public lecture entitled The Medium is the Massage. The difference in the medium is the massage is that it works us over. It really takes hold and massages the population in a savage way. In today's context, it is clear to see the medium has taken over our lives and has forced its way into popular culture, squeezing out practices which now seem simply Amish. Though the medium gives youth a huge opportunity to help others, it also gives a young mind room to ruin something it did not know it had, and that is an image of itself. Since the internet is all-encompassing, one cannot get rid of past actions. History continues and plays a large role in the present. That is the most dangerous part of adolescents making reputations for themselves, in a form of communication that cannot change or differ once it's transmitted. So relying on youth conforming to negative images in order to be socially acceptable on a form of technology that cannot be changed. It has been said time and time again that social media is unforgiving, that it creates a world where our past is our present and future. There is no way for these things to be erased. It's frightening to look back and think that 2011 was the golden age of privacy. And now, with the leaps and bounds happening in technology, soon there will be no such thing as privacy. According to Greg Beto, quoting Daniel J. at Solov, once scattered, unforgettable, and localized becomes too comprehensive, too cumulative, too retrievable by anyone with a computer. The more freedom people have to spread information online, the more likely that people's private secrets will be revealed in ways that can hinder their opportunities in the future. But what may be most unnerving about the web is not how it empowers malicious smear merchants, but how it standardizes chronic self-disclosure through mechanisms as innocuous as Facebook, likes, and how it allows content aggravators to amass the tiny truths we disclose about ourselves in ways we can neither predict nor control. Imagine car insurers monitoring your tweet stream to see how often you use Foursquare to check in at bars, or at least 30 miles from your apartment. Imagine dating sites assigning you a narcissism quotient based on how often you review hair salons and Pilates instructors on Yelp.com. This leads one to believe that anything you put on the internet can and will affect you. And the more you put on there, the worse it will be. The world is becoming an open social. Everything is open, and it all affects your reputation, whether you put it out there or not. Reputation is an ever-changing premise, and it's greatly affected by social media and television, because youth emulate what is shown to them. Sex scandals in the political world influence youth to think nothing can go wrong if they portray a historically negative reputation as well. And once a small group begins posting drunk pictures or jackass in racial videos on YouTube, their peers want to do it as well so they can conform and fit in. These videos and pictures can get attention and are seen as positive ways to represent oneself. Therefore, popular culture not only influences but creates what a positive reputation is. And the idea of a positive reputation among adolescents is skewed to embrace the idea that a historically bad reputation is good and a historically positive reputation is lame and therefore bad.